Hello there! We've been waiting for you!
Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality.
Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Minute to Skim It. I am fresh off the boat from Comic-Con, and I got all jazzed about comic books in general. It's quite something to be on a boat with 2,000 people that all know what you're talking about. No chance you're going to sit next to someone at dinner that's be like, what is this Superman you talk about? Kyle's frozen in space. No, he can't hear you.
I'm reading something that I feel like I need to argue with some people about, but
no, you should not. It's a waste.
I realize that the people I would need to argue with are the kind of people who, as retailers, if you handed them $100, would be pissed at you for not giving it to them in 20s.
Hey, Mr. Nope and Eddie. How are you doing?
So,
I almost had a riot at the Black Bear Diner today. Like I go over there and I sit down, they bring me coffee, and then sometime later they bring me an open turkey sandwich. And the guy that's been there for the last 2 weeks, who I know knows what I order, didn't bring me any food. So I finally flagged him down. I'm like, hey man, do like to have some food. And he goes, oh, we're out of turkey, so I can't get that for you. I'm like, 45 minutes ago when I sat down would have been the time to tell that to me so I could choose other food. And now I'm hangry.
Miss Jen would like to speak to your manager.
It's just like it makes sense just to say to me, the person who has to, not have turkey, to not find that out 45 minutes into my read. So anyway, I'm not angry anymore because I got to read cool books. Don't read hangry, y'all.
Yeah, don't read angry. If that was a thing we actually had to do, I might never read again.
That's right.
Speaking of books that made me angry, let's get into it.
All right. That didn't make you angry. You didn't read that one.
No, but there are parts of it that already make me angry.
Oh, really? Okay. So, as you can tell, Eddie Brock is now carting around Carnage because he didn't have Venom anymore. And he's estranged from his son, Dylan, and really doesn't have anybody. He really only has Carnage at this point, which is really strange because he's not even the King in Black anymore. How did this happen, Eddie? What'd you do, man? It starts out on an airplane in which basically the things that are going on in Eddie's head is just Carnage telling him, like, just pick someone to kill. Pick someone to kill. Kill someone. Pick someone. Of course, Carnage does not understand why it's taking Eddie so long. But what you find out through conversation, as tiny little spoilers, is that they're on the plane to hunt down a serial killer, which is odd because normally Carnage would be like, woo, you go, because he's crazy and likes blood. But and somehow Eddie has convinced him that that's their new job together is to hunt down serial killers. Why? I don't know, but this is definitely, it's marked as mature audiences, and it's definitely mature audience. This one might have been available for red bandness because there is an awful lot of mini bloods. So fun read. You don't have to know anything about Carnage except for that Carnage is crazy. This is Miss Jen when she doesn't get her turkey sandwich. That's right.
All right. So, one, there's no Farscape story in this.
Is there supposed to be? Oh, wait, there is the Farscape people on there. So there's not?
There is also no Fraggle Rock story in this.
Oh, wait, hold on. Is there a Labyrinth story in this?
Yeah, but it's no good.
Aww.
This book is good for two reasons. One, and the same reason both times. This features two Jim Henson storytellers stories.
Oh, okay.
Which are fantastic.
Yes.
But like, I grabbed this because it's like, oh, there'll be a Farscape story, or oh, there'll be a Fraggle Rock story. Nah, none of that. So much like the cake, this cover is a lie. And that made me angry. I was bamboozled. I was snookered. I was whatever you want to say. But the two storyteller stories were great. One was a piece of Japanese mythology about a turtle. And the other one, I will not spoil for you in terms of what it's about, but it is a very well-known piece of mythos.
Is the art like on the front, or is it totally different?
No. But the Jim Henson storyteller stories look like Jim Henson storyteller issues, right?
Did you read those other storytellers? Did you read?
Mm-hmm.
Did you read Giants or okay?
Yeah, no, it's got kind of that watercolor style that are so prevalent in those books. So those are great. The Labyrinth one looked like something somebody drew in colored pencil.
Oh, I kind of like that look. No, you don't like colored pencil look?
No, it wasn't that. It was like they only had 4 colors to work with.
EJB, when will we see Pigs in Space versus Farscape?
Pigs in Space. Yeah, no. It was just frustrating to go into this thinking, okay, you're gonna get these two characters, but it wasn't really those characters, right? It was 2 other things. And again, the storytellers look good. And as we've talked about, I don't like Labyrinth. So you got to write a killer Labyrinth story for me to give a crap. And it was just okay. And then it was like they just chose a massively minimalist color palette.
Mm-hmm.
And the art just didn't really take me there. So it was fine. But I really liked the 2 storyteller stories.
Triple B's right. Like Peach Momoko is kind of that colored pencil look.
Yeah, and I don't care for Peach Momoko.
EJB, I give you 1 million points that mean nothing if you can name any Pigs in Space character. Go. I have some action figures, so I kind of cheat. All right. One World Under Doom kind of started last week. There was a book, which had like a little subtitle. It was One World Under Doom. This is full on into the story. If you missed that one, it doesn't matter. You don't need it. The things you need to know are all kind of like stuck at the beginning of this book so that you can catch up if you've like been missing from comic books for the last 2 or 3 years. So Doom stole the right to be Sorcerer Supreme, and he has been for a while, but he hasn't been really doing anything with it. He kind of like went back to Latveria and is doing whatever he's doing there. And then Ghost, Doctor Strange has been trying to lead Pete around in the challenges he's been facing in his storyline, which is the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, which is in his own title. So this doesn't touch that at all. It really does start out with like Doom having taken over the airwaves and making his announcements about the way things are going to be. And the way things are going to be is that all nations are going to be under him. And as part of that kind of like all bow to Doom, which seems like it's like, why would we do that? We don't know you, man. He throws 2 things out there, which are meant to kind of appease and attract the people. One is that everyone is going to have access to all the education they want, and everyone's going to have all the access to healthcare that they want. So, as equal, completely across the board. So, and I think that's probably the way he runs his own country. I don't know if he's ever tried it as a world, but, and this all takes our superheroes, all the Avengers and everybody else, really by surprise. Like, what's going on here? So this is kind of setting up him. It has a cool little sub story with Baron Zemo. So that's a really awesome kind of like, you might not know what you're looking at. I like that about the way Doom does stuff. And you will see that he's pretty brutal. So I'm interested to see how this is going because I like the way it's being presented. Is what Doom is doing better for us or not? I don't know. I don't like being told that that's the way it's going to go or else. But anyway. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Do you guys remember when Lenore was like the biggest thing going, but never came out?
A very slow release.
I think the last issue of Lenore was 7 years ago.
Sounds right.
My God, have I missed it? This felt like not a minute had passed for me. I wasn't a huge Lenore fan back then, but since then I've read it all. And I've become a pretty big Lenore fan. So this was great. This is the story of Lenore and the hat from Frosty the Snowman. If the hat from Frosty the Snowman was one of those like crocheted frog hats people wear.
It's on the cover, so you can envision it really well.
Yeah. Except the thing on her head is not the hat.
Oh.
The thing with the sword is the hat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
This book is bonkers. And if you've been a Lenore fan, this is a must grab. If you've not been a Lenore fan, this is a must grab. Because at this rate, by the time we're all dead, there will only be like 2 more issues. So you don't need to worry about it. But this was super fun. It was just a dumb little like romp. If you don't know who Lenore is, think darker Wednesday Addams.
Yeah.
More twisted Wednesday Addams.
Is Lenore alive? I can't remember. Is Lenore alive or unalive?
Yes.
Okay. I just couldn't remember.
She is both and neither. But I would say it's like if Wednesday Addams met Louise from Bob's Burgers. So when I read Lenore, I hear Kristen Schall's voice saying things that Jenna Ortega said in Wednesday. That's how this book is. And again, like Roman Dirge, I don't think Roman is actually involved anymore. Like the people who are doing this have done a great job of keeping the voice the same and keeping the tone the same. And just telling, again, stupid little stories that just are fun, disconnect, and just, it's a sentient frog hat. Like, come on.
I love his derp eyes so much.
Right? So it's super fun. Like, again, I can't really get into too much of what happens in the story because not too much actually happens in the story. Like it's not like they're covering a ton of ground here. But at the same time, this is one of those turn your brains off and just enjoy a goofy comic book kind of stories.
Okay. The Hive. This is a very interesting book. I think it's going to take another read for me, maybe, to truly understand the who is who and what is going on. But I think it's designed that way, honestly. From what I think that I can tell, it seems like there is, just like in a hive, a female in charge of everything that's going on. It appears that she and other members maybe of her hive, or just people, she's just a person, I feel like there's been a movie like this where people can just Jedi mind tricky, just say things like drive through that wall, and they just do. And it's neat the way the art works. It goes slightly fuzzy, like you need to clean your glasses. And then also the words that they say are also that fuzzy. So you get an idea that, okay, this is something that's being influenced, something's happening. And the rest of the book is kind of just different things that are happening with members of the hive and her. It's very adult. It does have bees in it. But it's not overtly, other than it being called the hive, it's not like it's like, okay, well, these guys sting people. It's not like they're not human bees. They're just humans. They're people. It's kind of interesting. I just want to figure out what's really going on at the base of it. If it's what they are kind of making you infer from the way the story is going. But it's interesting enough. I don't know if I put it in kind of heisty sci-fi category.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is, I believe, the 1 in 10 variant. And just know that I did order 10 copies for my LCS so that I could get this variant. Just saying. This is Justin Jordan. Mine is A Long and Lonesome Grave. I have strongly mixed feelings because I really enjoyed this book. But this book doesn't do anything to make you enjoy it. Unless you like the idea of someone using railroad stakes as a murder weapon, there isn't a lot here that kind of brings you in. The thing that has to sell you on this book is the fact that it's Justin Jordan writing a number 1. And if you've read any of Justin Jordan's work, you know that number 2 is going to be off the deep end crazy. This is the story of a guy who gets out of prison for a crime that we're led to believe is probably murdering his wife. But you don't know that for sure. And there's a curse involved. And he has to dig up like a bag full of money and guns that he can only unlock with his own blood. And then he like gives the money to his daughter, who there's some weird stuff happening with his daughter that you don't understand. And then he's being followed by some people that you don't understand. And then all of a sudden there's a guy tied up and he's driving railroad stakes into the guy. And there's this thing about eyes and all of these demon-looking creatures. And there's a lot that happens, but nothing happens. You know what I mean? Like, I recognize that sentence doesn't make any sense. But, like, you don't know why anything is happening. You don't know exactly what is happening. But there's just a lot of bits that are introduced in this issue. And again, if you read, Jay, what was the book with the kids and the killer from a couple of years ago by Justin Jordan? Harrower, that's right. Harrower. Like, if you read that, the first issue of that was not like off the rails crazy. It took until 2 or 3 issues in to really kind of understand what you were reading. This feels a lot like that. The art is great. But again, it's like, don't let this issue being what this issue is deter you from reading issue 2. Because I know for a fact that by the time issue 2 hits, everybody's going to be plucking their eyes out going, what did I just read?
Oh, that's a pretty cover. That's not the cover I got to read. That's beautiful. Okay, so this is a single shot out of AWA. They have always written books that I have liked. This one feels very much in the same vein as some of the more recent Distillery books, which are a little more adult. This one is about a girl who's obviously a cam girl. She is also of, maybe, I don't know if she's Korean. She might be. The point of the book is kind of like this romanticizing of the women as subservient, meek little people of all the Orient. So that's kind of like the big thing, but that doesn't actually say it out loud. This girl is basically being a cam girl, and she starts crossing the line a little bit for like, she decides to have like a personal meet and greet kind of a deal. And then she's got some really big benefactors who are very sweet on her and are always nice, but they're always like asking her for like, hey, take a picture of, and pay her a lot of money. And she's trying to have a regular life. Like, she has a regular boyfriend. She has a longtime female friend who she had maybe romantic feelings for at one point, but no longer. This friend is just taking care of her, kind of like making sure she stays out of trouble. There's a lot of drugs in this book. That's how she like does her downtime. So I don't think you're supposed to like her as a character, as like a moral, upstanding person, and she's like, taking all of her money that she's making on the cam and snorting it up her nose, etc. But it does have a really awesome twist in the book, really cool twist. Just when you kind of have a handle of like, okay, well, she's gotten herself in her own trouble by having personal meet and greets that maybe one of her followers is a little too obsessed. But you probably are not going to see coming what's happened. So it's a definitely adult book. There are, on the first 2 pages, phallus materials and all kinds of stuff to get straight into her stream. So just know. Yeah, Tula Lote always does like really gorgeous female forms. So there you go. Locked door variants. There you go.
Speaking of lock the door variants, Zootopia number 2 doesn't have any. Because that would make no sense for the Zootopia universe. I have a vivid memory of being a senior in high school and going on a mission trip to New Jersey and having to go to the New Jersey dump and the smell of the New Jersey dump. And why do I tell you about that? Well, because if you have that memory, this book is going to be super triggering. In the first issue, you recall there was a peanut butter and jelly based explosion that ruined some cell phones that Hops and her partner are investigating. Hops believes that a series of break-ins at the dump may be related. So what do? They go undercover as trash. And hijinks ensue. I like that. One of the things that I want to give Dynamite a lot of credit for, especially in this and in Lilo and Stitch, is for you could take the Zootopia part out and tell the same story with Dick Tracy or with Batman or with anybody. And the mystery is still going to be real good. Right? Like in their Lilo and Stitch books, you could replace Lilo and Stitch with any other characters, really, and the stories would still be good. Right? That's one of the things this has going for it. You do not need Judy Hopps to make this story interesting. Which I think is some of the mistake they've made on some of the other Disney stuff. Where it's only interesting if it's the Thundercats, or it's only interesting if it's the Gargoyles. This would be interesting without it being Zootopia. So this is super fun. This is definitely part 2 of a minimum 3-issue story arc. So you're going to want to go back and get issue 1 if you can. And then read this one. But again, this is just super fun. Not necessarily super light reading. Like you really need to follow along to kind of understand the mystery of it all. But it's crazy solid and it's a super fun read.
Okay, so I read this one specifically because I had seen that I missed in the last issue a pretty big development. So if you have not been reading the second volume of Geiger, just know that he has taken on basically a hedge knight who is not very liked, honestly. The knight, I think, has a zebra with 3 eyes, is his kind of like this creature. And, Geiger's got his really cool 2-headed dog, I think named Bruce or something, really funny. But when we saw them, they had come across what looks like another person who Geiger's been following around and trying to find, who we heard also has the same kind of powers as he has. So he just wants to find somebody else to see if there's some way to heal himself, like prevent himself from, like, he's actually having some problems right now with it attacking his own body. Hedge knight like shrubbery, yes. Zigzag and Barney, thank you. It's Zigzag and Barney. Weirdly, I didn't know they had 2 different names. I thought it was just one dog. Oh, Zigzag's the zebra. That makes sense. Barney's the dog. So this book is also tomorrow there is a second print of number 10, which is the first appearance of this character, which was revealed to be female. She is on the front cover of that book, but you can see her shadow here. So this is all interaction. She actually talks to him. Realize even more how much of a butt he is and the person he's picked to be his pal. It also touches in on some more about I forgot the character's name. The cool Vietnam robot. Daggum. Why has that disappeared from my brain?
Is that Junkyard Joe?
Junkyard Joe. It was like my brain was like bringing me Immortan Joe, and I was like, no, stop. That's the fun thing about getting old is your brain will bring you the wrong thing, and then when you say that's not it, it'll bring it to you again. And you're like, how about Immortan Joe? No, still no. All right. Yes, thank you, Junkyard Joe. So it talks a little bit about that. And it actually, you do get to see in here a little bit. They've been talking about one of the things that he deals with, even though he's kind of a mechanical man, is PTSD. So he has an actual kind of a big bout of stuff in this book. So continues to be awesome. It's never, ever boring. I love the characters, even though they're not meant to be loved. And if you just you've just decided, I'm not going to get into this ghost machine thing, just really think about it, because they've got a full universe that they're working toward. Like, of the big timeline for the major parts of what's going on in this universe, they've only introduced half the stuff. We still have half of the stuff to be introduced still that fits in that timeline. So I love it when I can be bought in for a good long time. I know that my universe is going to last forever. So like it.
If a demon invites you to a castle, do not go to that castle. Seems like some advice. No, it seems like some advice you shouldn't have to give somebody. But sure enough, here we are at a castle in Germany filled with a witch of some kind, or a sorceress, or some kind of evil priestess, a whole mess of demons, and all those demons think they own your souls.
Our Lord. Yep. Always say yes.
That's the book. If a demon invites you to a castle, ask him if he would rather have a cookie and then leave. Basically. As you'll recall from this story, these are a series of kids whose dad sold their soul for demonic powers. So it turns into a sort of a battle for who has the authority to sell someone's soul to a demon and who doesn't. And if you only exist because the demons helped your dad to make you, then who really has control of your soul? And that's the issue at the heart of this book. But again, as I said before, just don't go to a castle when you're invited there by demons.
Although by old school rules, if he invites you in, then he's responsible for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Green Lantern Corps. I really liked how all this has been rolling out, because sometimes when I've tried to get into DC titles in the past, it requires you to know a bunch of stuff before you go in, and isn't really tied into anything. So it's just kind of like, and we're starting here, go. But you have to know everything about these characters. This I like because it is tied into all the all-in stuff that's been happening. They had a single shot last week that rolls straight into this storyline. I like it also because one of the very main characters in this is John Stewart, who's my favorite Lantern of all time. But they're actually forming up this team because they've been fighting big problems. So what is also cool about this is that they find somebody on their travels, another planet, I believe, who in their interaction with this person proves themselves to have what it takes to be a lantern. They weren't looking for another lantern, and this person wasn't looking to be a lantern, but we get a new lantern, which I like. I like this person's look a lot. So if you like jumping in at the beginning of things, you like a bunch of lanterns. Oh, by the way, you don't see him on this front cover, but I'm going to spoil it a little bit. The best Green Lantern of all time, and he'll tell you that it's true, Sinestro, is needed in the Corps. So you've got Sinestro. Hard police procedural book. That is not the way it read to me, this first issue. So maybe in the future?
Look, if Sinestro just starts going dong dong,
dong dong,
then we can confirm.
That's right.
You know,
any Sinestro fans out there?
In the galaxy, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the Green Lanterns and the Red Lanterns. These are their stories.
I like it.
There are 2 Dick Tracy stories in the Dick Tracy Valentine's Day special. Neither one of them really puts me in the mood for Valentine's Day. A lot of people getting a lot of shot up. The first story is kind of a classic Dick Tracy tale. Guy nobody likes gets murdered. Nobody's really sure who did it. And it turns into a femme fatale story. The whole thing, of course, is backdropped against Dick Tracy standing Tess up for Valentine's Day to solve a murder. Right, which is, of course, what Dick Tracy does.
She's very understanding, I'm certain.
Yes. Bless you. The second story, though, is something I'm not sure how I feel about. And, I need to read it again and maybe talk to a couple of other Dick Tracy fans about. Because what it feels like they did was they drew some new panels and intermixed some old panels that already existed in order to tell a new Dick Tracy sort of love story. And for my money, it doesn't quite come together. I get what they were going for, but just between the two things, it just doesn't exactly line up. If that makes sense. It almost reminds me of the interviews on the Weird Al show, where they're taking clips from a press junket, where it's an artist giving answers, and then Weird Al is just asking, because you can't see them both. It's not a 2-shot, it's a 1-shot. It's Weird Al going, so tell me how you feel about weasels. Well, we ate some on set one night, and it was really good. And then we went to this, where the answers have nothing to do with the questions.
Right.
That's kind of how this feels. The old panels have almost no relation to the new panels. But somehow it comes together and makes a story, but I just don't find that story to be all that interesting.
You know what's interesting is I don't think in forensics the body chalk outline has been used in so long. I think it makes sense for Dick Tracy, but why it continues to be what is used for just every book where someone dies is kind of interesting to me.
And ironically, the blood spatter in this particular chalk outline, there's no resemblance to any blood spatter on any chalk outline in the book.
Oh.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. I know you guys look so excited about this because I am very excited about this. And I had people come in today kind of nosing around. I could tell they were did they put it out early? I really want to have it. Oh my goodness. Absolute Batman continues to surprise me every single issue where we learn something new and interesting about the character, his background, and the people around him. And, it makes him richer and cooler every single time. Not richer like money, but richer. Anyway, in past issues, he has been approached by the Black Mask, who's the leader of the party animals, which are creating all kinds of craziness. He's offered him a ton of money. Think $22 million to, I don't know, show up and be part of his crew, because that's the way he works. And a lot of this is Alfred kind of like following Batman, like he has been for the last, since #1. And being amazed that Batman's really just going to show up and be at the place and time he says he's going to meet up with this bad guy, right? And then the rest of the book will really make you happy. It also goes back and touches on, I think this is like the last part of the Zoo storyline, which is part of his back history where he gets bit by a bat. So retire for 22 million, wouldn't you? Absolutely. And you get to see him use the spikes that come out of his like shoulders in a cool way. Does he use any other new contraption? I can't remember if he's using any new contraptions here. He gets to ride a bat cycle, which is awesome. That's, you get to see the first page. So, yep, still awesome art, still cool, still awesome. Really incredibly dangerous bad guy. Wait till you see what the bad guy does in the last few pages of this book. Like, now where do we go from here?
I had a thought for how I was going to review Spectrum 3.
Okay.
And now I'm questioning my thought. So I will say this. There is a band called the Band of Heathens. They do a cover of a Gillian Welch song called Look at Miss Ohio. Give that a listen. Okay. This book doesn't come out until next week, but since I will be in the middle of the air flying to Comics Pro during this time next week, I won't get to review it. Mm-hmm. And Miss Jen will also likely be in the air on her way to Comics Pro at this point next week. So she won't get to review it. So I reviewed it this week. The premise of this story is becoming more and more convoluted, but also more and more clear. Art is a thing that binds us all. It's a thing that connects us all, but that we all experience in a different way. Mm-hmm. As an example, Jen and I could listen to the same song and have completely different reactions to it.
It's true.
Because we're completely different people. But there is some art that transcends differences. You know, for a lot of people, that song's like Imagine by John Lennon. Right? That it really doesn't matter who you are. When you hear that song, you understand the artistry of it. Right? And it hits you in the way John Lennon intended. That is what this book is talking about. What if a piece of art or a type of artistry had the ability to change the fabric of reality as we know it? In issue 1, they talked about Jeff Buckley. They didn't actually talk about Jeff Buckley. They talked about a fictional version of Jeff Buckley. A guy who went for a swim in the Mississippi River in jeans and heavy boots and never came back. In issue 2, they talk about somebody who's maybe Nina Simone, but not exactly Nina Simone. And in this story, they talk about what I think is Gillian Welch, but it might be somebody else. In issue 3 here. But it takes place at legally not the Ryman Auditorium or the Grand Ole Opry. And for music lovers, myself especially, these are holy places and people. You know, Jeff Buckley is a holy person in my life because of what his music has done. This song, Look at Miss Ohio, is hugely important to me, but it's hugely important to this story, even if they don't explicitly say it. I mean, at one point, you see a woman in a sash that says Miss Ohio, and she tries to strangle somebody with the sash. Like, just know. This book, I don't know what Rick Quinn and Dave Chisholm are trying to do. I've not been able to interview them despite trying because they're both so busy. But I know that this book is speaking to a part of me that only exists as a musician and a music fan. And I think that's really special because it's not connecting with me like as a comic book fan. It's connecting on me on a deeper, more visceral level. So I'm interested to see what happens to our main characters and all the people around them. This book is about, this particular issue is about a photographer who intersects with our main characters and how this photographer's work plays out having been influenced by this moment. Which Jay's going to say Cryptic Kyle is cryptic, but like, again, it's that moment where you meet Banksy and don't know you've met Banksy until it's way too late. And now you're influenced by this moment that you met Banksy. Or for me, it was, you know, the moment I met, Claude Black for the first time and Clifford Murphy, who were jazz musicians who played with Ray Charles. But I didn't know who they were. They were just these two old guys who were in a jazz club in my town. Well, for so long, my life was impacted by that meeting and things they told me once I knew who they were. And that's what this story is about. So, I don't know. I don't know if that was a good review or not. I don't know. I don't know any other way to talk about this book than to get real, like, esoteric and, you know, artsy fartsy about it.
Brilliant.
Nobody gets stabbed.
This book is not coming out this week. Don't try to find it at your LCS and don't yell at them. This is me doing advanced review because Matt Rosenberg was very kind and provided stores with a very special preview edition. It actually has words stamped across the front. So I don't know if you want to try to talk your LCS out of their fancy dancy for your eyes only version of this. They only got one. So, if you guys aren't already fans of Matt Rosenberg and everything that he creates, you might want to jump in at some point. I really do really love everything that he touches because it's all so different and so just dives so deep into people's psyche and all that kind of crazy stuff by just throwing weird crap at you that you hadn't thought about in those ways ever. So, I'm going to give this a very basic framework because I don't want to mess anything up for your reading of this book because it would be very spoilery to tell you most anything about it story-wise. But as a loose framework, this book is about a father who is a scientist who's very obsessed with his work, his daughter who is desperate for any kind of attention from him, like even a minute of his time to pay attention to her, a mystery about who her mother is and where she is now and what her dad is really up to. What is he really doing? Is he doing good or bad? And it is very gray. You don't really know for sure, even at the end of this issue. And he does, I think in the little pitch for this book, it actually mentions robots. Well, there are robots in this, but they appear to be things that the doctor has made to kind of entertain the daughter. Because when the first opening scene of this is her playing hide and go seek with them. It's very awkward because they don't understand the game really. And they don't understand that's just supposed to be one person, you know, trying to find her. And there's three of them and they're all trying to find her. So it's kind of funny. But it is very dark. It's very adult. You're going to feel stuff, maybe fear, maybe just like sadness for her and her situation. It's a little Silence of the Lambs, and I don't know. Really, truly, if you've read any of his stuff, he just takes a little bit from this and that for all the feelings you've ever felt in his stuff, and he's like, here you go. So yeah, definitely add it to your poll if you want to have this book. I have a feeling that once all the reviews get out from these advanced copies coming, that a lot of people are going to add it to their pull boxes. So does look Tarantino-esque, definitely.
You know how we were talking about lock the doors variants?
Yeah, she forgot her clothes.
I don't even know why they draw her with clothes on anymore. Like the big fight scene in the book, she's just naked. Like, what the point is? Just don't even bother. I clearly missed issue 2 because I remember issue 1, and I remember, oh, this is a very interesting kind of human bomb kind of story. Then some stuff happened, and then we get to issue 3 where it's the human bomb cannot be allowed to survive, shoot to kill.
Right.
Well, clearly I missed something. This is one of the only for this channel cover I could find that wasn't cosplay. Right. Right. So yeah, you have a human bomb story, and you have Heat Seeker, who, as you know, if you've read any other Heat Seekers, is sort of an expert at helping people escape from people who want to kill them. And so she is doing this thing that she does. I'll be honest, if you walked around as naked as she does all of the time, you would have no problem distracting the bad guys, okay? But instead, she chooses to also kill the bad guys, which is not a bad plan. Like, it just isn't. I keep reading these books, and I keep saying they're not for me, but I keep reading these books. I don't know what to say about that.
Jay.
Except that Jay, like, at one point she's using a sword. Like, it just turns into, like, this thing. So, I don't know. These books are super fun if you're into, like, the pulp, or if you're into, like, the crime noir, or you're into the femme fatale kind of storylines, which I am not super into all the time. But this one seems good. I kind of enjoy it. I just wish I hadn't missed issue 2. Because I'd like to understand why the human bomb girl is now having to pretend to be a boy. And who is who and who is getting shot in the head. Because it's really hard when you miss an issue, especially of this kind of thing, to catch back up.
Okay, so I made a quadruple and did not realize that this was a second print of this book. But I understand that the first print of this book was released years ago, and they're just now getting around to giving us issue 2. So I will say, if you did not read this book on its first release, you might consider it on a second release, because I missed it on a first release. It looked interesting to me. And this is really great writing. I think this is Mark Waid. And it really gives you a look at the relationship between Superman and Lex. Kind of mixes a storyline in which Lex, as an adult, is basically kind of pressuring Superman by using what he knows about him, and that if Lex asks for help from Superman, Superman will help because he will always help, right? That's what he does. So it's that interspersed with like the explanation for why Superman may be helping. It may not be just like he will always help. Maybe it's specific to Lex. So it does tell a story interspersed that is about his interaction with him as a young man. So that is very insightful and not stuff I think that I've seen them talk about before. This is really, really great. And I love where it left it. It makes me want to read the second issue. I would be really pissed off, by the way, if I read this in 2023 and still hadn't had a second issue. I'd lose my mind. I'd be calling Mark Waid every day. Just send me the script. I got to know what's going on. So here you go. here's your chance of getting a really awesome Black Label. Even if it maybe Lex Luthor or Supes aren't your characters, you might really just like this for the humanness of what it gets into. Awesome. Those are some great books, and we do apologize. I'm going to try to figure out something for next week so we still have review going on. You can get these really great books at your local comic shop, or if you're traveling, you can use Comic Shop Locator, at least right now, and the zip code to get where you think about your sweetie and what you might want to get them for Sweetie Day. Maybe a really cool comic book or graphic novel is a thing that wouldn't be a traditional gift for Valentine's, but there are tons and tons out there. They don't have to be romantic ones, but there's a ton of books and cool other things from your local comic shop that would make really great gifts. And also think about friends that are left without a sweetie this holiday. If you can get them a little tchotchke, it'd make them feel better. It would be really sweet.
Yeah. And if Comic Shop Locator isn't working for you, there is a new service out there that it's not 1,000,000% yet, but it's getting there. Findyourcomic.store.
Oh, cool.
Which is from a company called Sweet, which is making apps for the nerdish folk. So just be on the lookout for those people. I've been in contact with them about maybe talking to them here on the experience and kind of sharing some stuff from them. As they are developing what I think may be the answer to my CLZ is getting too big. How do I make it more manageable? Stuff like that. So they seem to be really good guys, but Comic Shop Locator first. And if that's not working for you, findyourcomic.store.
So what comes on after this? Anything?
Yeah. We have Welcome to Wonderland.
Yay!
With Rich Davis and TJ. Rich is back. And according to the text I just got, he's starting to feel almost human after MegaCon and getting super sick at MegaCon. And then following him is Honest Henry from Chicago. So stay tuned for the Bears and whatever honor he has. Awesome. Then tomorrow we'll have Comic Collectibles, and then Jay and I will be doing, I don't know if everybody saw the thumbnail yet, but it's a thumbnail I made that represents the height difference between Jay and I. It was the movie poster from Twins. So I'm Arnold and he's Danny DeVito. Anyway, on Kyle and Jay's Q&A, we'll be answering your questions and maybe asking a few of our own. So tune in for that as well. I think Travis Gibb of Orange Cone Productions is going to be joining us. So stay tuned and check that out. We will see everybody next time. Stay tuned for all of the great programming here and follow Miss Jen over to CBSN, and we will see you next time around.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.